Welcome to Cryptic Accounts, a podcast by paranoid people and for paranoid people. I am your host this week, Dennis Cheney, and I'm joined as always with Patrick Ryan as we explore butterfly people, Mothmen. Oh my, I guess.
Did
There
you
should
say
be
butterfly people and Mothmen? Oh my.
yeah,
Okay.
there should have been a third thing, but
No Egyptians this week, huh?
no, I didn't. But they're coming back
I'm sure they are.
eventually. I didn't realize I get so into Egyptians. They're fascinating. I've never been like a pyramid conspiracy theorist or anything like that. Like I don't know what that was about. I apologize.
Oh no, it was good. I was just
Yeah,
teasing you.
I know.
You've had a lot of thoughts going on with different research that you wanted to do in that, so I just didn't know if that's where we were going this week.
No, I think I'd give people an Egyptian break. Maybe in a couple weeks. We'll be
I have
back.
heard of Mothman. I'm looking forward to having it fully, hopefully explained to me.
Well, this isn't like the Mothman episode, but we're gonna
Okay.
get into it. We're gonna get into a bit. Maybe it'll be fully explained. I don't know. We did for people if you are interested in Mothman. We did an episode called Operation Trojan Horse,
Oh yeah.
where we reviewed John Keel's book Operation Trojan Horse, and
Yeah.
he's the Mothman guy, so you can go check that out. But
That might be
you
why it's
ready?
ringing some bells.
Yeah, it might be. This show topic actually came from my mother this week.
Shout out
She
to
texted me and
Susan.
said, "Have you ever heard of this?" Shout out to Susan. You've been doxxed. So we're gonna start with one of the worst natural disasters that's ever happened in the Midwest.
Cool. So an
And
upbeat
that
story.
is
Excellent.
yeah, and this part isn't paranormal. It's just some backstory.
Okay.
And it is the 2011 Joplin, Missouri tornado.
Okay.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, we live around Kansas City, so if you're around this area, you probably remember. It was a powerful and catastrophic F5 rated multiple vortex tornado that struck Joplin, Missouri on the evening of Sunday, May 22nd, 2011. It reached a maximum width of nearly 1 mile or 1.6 kilometers, and during its path to the southern part of the city. This particular tornado was unusual and that it intensified in strength and grew larger in size at a very fast rate. The tornado tracked eastward across the city and then continued along Interstate 44. And it was only the third tornado to ever strike Joplin. Overall, it killed 158 people with an additional 8 indirect deaths, and it injured 1,150 other people. So like 1,300 people were taken by this thing, and caused damage amounting to $2.8 billion. It was the deadliest tornado to strike the U.S. since 1947.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. It was if anybody isn't aware of the Joplin tornado, like it was not your average tornado. Like Dennis said, a mile wide, and just continued to accelerate. Like it just destroyed this town. It just it really happened really fast too.
Yeah, and you generally don't. I mean, I just feel like when you see big tornadoes, like generally they don't hit like cities. You know what I mean? And like Joplin, like this, I didn't realize when I was reading about this, like it destroyed one of their hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, just it couldn't be like any worse. And if anybody who was down there or has seen stuff after the time, if you look up pictures, like it was just complete devastation. So that's the Joplin tornado.
And then the aliens showed up. Where were we going with this?
And then the aliens showed up. Well, maybe. So I got a text from my mom. She said, "Have you ever heard of the Joplin butterfly people?" I'm like, "What?
What
is this?" So this actually comes from a St. Louis newspaper that did a really good summary of this. And so I'll get into it with you. In the chaotic first days after the tornado in Joplin, when nothing seemed real, word of the butterfly people began to spread. These stories were shared in hospital waiting rooms, in lines for donated food. They were told by neighbors on streets so devastated that there was nothing to do but stand and stare. A Red Cross counselor heard the stories as she handed out water and work gloves to residents in the hard-hit part of town. She got goosebumps. She told her pastor, who asked her to tell the congregation. and she remembers how the crowd gasped.
Okay, first of all, butterfly people, just this whole like, I know it was 2011, but this story feels like it's set in like 1911 or something.
Yeah, right. It's like, just imagine like a guy
Like,
with wings and like a
yeah,
goggles or something.
yeah, that's not been a thing that's I don't think that's been anything that's I mean, I guess it did happen in our lifetime. We just weren't aware of it, but like that's just not a normal thing you hear people say they saw.
No, it's not. Well, it kind of makes you think of maybe angels at first, like guardian angels or something.
Okay, yeah.
Which some people think it is. So the stories about butterfly people course through Joplin, passing one by one and then by the many. Tales describing what children reported seeing on the Sunday night in May as the tornado bore down. The children said that the butterfly people protected them. These stories. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and just based on stuff we've been covering on the show, like the Amon's house and stuff, and then the different paranormal stuff that we've been covering, like it's I'm not surprised, and now I kind of lean into more already towards it might be something angelic than if kids are seeing it.
Yeah, kids seem to be more sensitive to like.
Definitely.
Well, gosh, even our interview with Laura. I mean, she didn't have a butterfly person, but it was
No,
so
that's what I mean.
Yeah, they tend to. These are basically tales of guardian angels. And the report says that they could be dismissed as a child's fanciful imagination, but the stories have taken hold in Joplin. And as the months slipped by, the adrenaline faded along with some of the terror. The stories have assumed a new and maybe even more important role. And to understand why, you have to understand that this is a town of 50,000, and it killed 100. It ended up killing 161 people, shred through entire neighborhoods.
And then injured over 1,100.
Yeah, I think 900 homes were lost. All the big box stores collapsed. So
Poor Walmart.
Poor Walmart.
I hope that they were able to recover after that Joplin incident.
Oh, I'm sure
somebody should check on Walmart.
They still have the land. Yeah, I know. It's interesting they mentioned big box stores. The tornado unleashed stories about death and unlikely survival. A teenager sucked from an SUV, a toddler plucked from his mother's arms, houses that exploded in 200-mile-per-hour winds as families huddled in bathtubs.
All right, I know you don't have details on those like 2 or 3 things you just said, but like I want to talk about that for the rest of the episode, honestly. A teenager got sucked out of an SUV.
Oh, that's terrifying. I know.
First question, did he live? Like, there's no detail there. Like, is he telling the story afterwards? Because I would like to hear about that. Also, why do you have your baby outside during a tornado?
They might not have been outside. 200-mile-per-hour winds is going to destroy a wood house.
You would take their side.
Yeah. God, it's terrible, man.
No, I just mean those are just very interesting details that are being highlighted here.
Yeah, and I mean, there's tons of stories like that if you just Google like, tornado news and stuff like that. Like tornadoes do weird stuff, like they put what's the famous thing people talk about? They put like it will like drive like a piece of hay through like a tree trunk, basically. It's just weird stuff happens when you're messing with physics at that level. Like,
I guess, yeah,
and apparently butterfly people happen.
Butterfly people are in tornadoes.
They are in, yeah. I don't know. Oh, so anyway, so these stories found their way to Marta Churchwell, who was skeptical at first. The longtime Joplin resident is not religious by the standards of a town known as the Buckle of the Bible Belt.
Oh boy, is it!
It really is. Yeah, I never knew I'd have that nickname. She's not inclined to believe in angels, but she saw what the May 22nd tornado did to her town. The experience, she said, seared me clear to the bone. Looking out over the landscape, how did anyone survive? I don't know. I can't give you an answer, but it's human nature to try to find an answer. And this is where the story of the butterfly people take flight. In one, a mother and daughter fled their vehicle as the tornado neared. The girl's 3 years old, and some versions she's 4. They have no time to reach a nearby house. The mother and daughter hit the ground. The mother covers her child, sometimes, or they jumped into a culvert. The mother watches as the winds hurtle her car toward them. She braces for the impact. The tornado passes. They're not hurt. The mother is astonished. Weren't they pretty? The daughter asks. And the mom is confused. Didn't you see the butterfly people? The daughter asks. And in some versions, children actually describe seeing the butterfly people ferrying men and women into the sky.
Again, this sounds like a 100 to 200-year-old story. First of all, we don't know how old the girl is. They lived, and we don't know how old she is.
Town rumors,
I know, but I'm just saying this sounds like a story you hear from well, we didn't have good record keeping then, so we don't really know how old the kid was.
Either that or they interviewed him when they were 3, but then the girl was 4 by the time this was written. You know what I mean?
Look,
you're right, though. This does sound like 100-year-old.
I know, right? They hit in a culvert. Other than that, they were in it like a vehicle. Everything else sounds like...
Yeah, change that to wagon.
Yeah.
So, Shelley Wilson had heard the story of the mother and daughter, and she works as a high school counselor. After the tornado, she volunteered for a Red Cross disaster mental health team. She drove through neighborhoods, distributing supplies, assessing how people were holding up. She doesn't remember who told her the butterfly people's story. She heard them several times. It was never firsthand. The stories seemed to come from someone who experienced them. But that didn't lead Wilson to doubt. It's the only way we can really honestly understand how more people were not killed, she said. When you walk through what's left, it just kind of took your breath away. Wilson told the story to her church, and that's where Mary Parks heard it. Parks shared it with her women's golf club, including Ellen Desmond. And Desmond told her brother, who lives in upstate Illinois. He recounted the tale on his community news blog. Another resident, Marcia Sherrod, heard the story while volunteering at a tornado donation shelter. She shared it with her Sunday school class at Forest Park Baptist. One boy, a quiet 11-year-old, raised his hand, and the boy said he saw the butterfly people that night too, Sharon recalls. So at this point, I'm kind of maybe this is one of those things.
Yeah.
Urban legend, maybe.
I mean, I hate to say that, but I mean, there's nobody that said, we haven't heard from anybody that said they directly saw them yet.
Right.
Which does not build a lot of confidence for me.
It's just
like saying you have a friend that says they saw Bigfoot or something. I would actually be more inclined to believe that, honestly.
Well, if I had, I want to see Bigfoot.
Well, if you had a friend that has seen Bigfoot, obviously we're going to interview him. So it'd have to be like a friend of a friend. You know what I'm saying, though? How far you need to remove that. That's what it sounds like.
This is the only beautiful, uplifting story we've ever done. And it's the only one you're skeptical.
I think that's what it is it sounds happy, and I'm like, I don't trust this.
If I was like, okay, we'll get farther.
Now, if you told me it was demons that were hurling stuff at people, I would have been completely on board with this. I'm like, well, that makes sense. The devil be doing stuff like that.
Oh, ye of little faith in the butterfly people.
Change my mind.
And soon the stories about butterfly people started reaching school therapists. Nearly half of all students that had contact with the Joplin Child Trauma Center set up in the city's schools after the tornado reported this. Danielle Robinson, the clinical director, said 2 therapists heard stories directly from children who saw the butterfly people. Some kiddos said that they had seen visions of butterflies or a butterfly, and that people that help them calm down or keep them safe, Robinson said. Other students reported seeing white lights. The stories came from students with different religious and socioeconomic backgrounds. It was across the board, she said. So this is a little more direct. This is some actual evidence.
Yeah.
About half of these kids that go to this trauma center.
And these are some sort of they're school counselors. They've got names attached to them. It's kind of a bold thing for them to be saying publicly if it's just a bold-faced lie.
Right. Yeah.
But they are also just reporting what these kids are saying.
Yeah, and that's what one doctor said, Judith Cohen of the Center for Traumatic Stress in Children and Adolescents in Gettysburg.
Somebody better have interviewed one of these kids.
I couldn't find any direct.
Really?
Yeah, but I know they exist though, because I know there's been some shows done about this, but okay. I didn't find maybe we'll do a butterfly people follow up. I'll come back next week with an interview.
Well, it'd be awesome.
I I think we should try to reach out and interview people and see
That
who had
was
the direct.
exactly where I was getting ready to go with it. Yeah, like we should
Exactly.
we should try and figure out what, because any of those kids would now maybe actually if they were middle school age, they'd be young adults at this point. I think that was 9 years
Yes.
ago.
Yeah. And even some of the people in this article that we'll get to were already like teenagers by the time they were interviewed, but they were like 11 or they were like 10 or 11 when this whole thing happened. Um, so doctors, of course, they say that this is more or less a child's way of understanding things. You know what I mean? Like of trying to make sense. They say children have no control when they're caught in a tornado, but they can control the meaning they take from it. Children see parents as their protective shield against the world, and angels are an extension of that. Children want to believe they'll be protected and that things happen for good reasons. I'm not sure I buy that.
Yeah, that's I was trying to figure out the way to frame what was being said, like to paint a visual of the guy I see saying that. Um, but yeah, I'm just like, do you have kids? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
do you remember being a kid? Like, I don't know.
yeah, I
I
don't
don't
think
buy that this is all imagination from this many. From anytime you've got a bunch of different people, that's why I'm like, how many people do we actually have that are saying they saw this? Because
well, half the children at the trauma center. It's a town of 50,000 people, so
so
it's that.
thousands of kids.
Yeah, it's probably at least a few hundred.
So yeah, let's be conservative and say 500.
Yeah, and that was in the school system too, so it would have been every kid.
Yeah.
Like everybody probably had. I mean, I'm sure. No, I'm fine. I'm sure every kid got counseling after this because they.
Yeah.
Um.
Do we? I don't want to spoil anything if you're going to get to it, but are there any adults that saw this?
Well, I don't know. I have my own theory. We're gonna get to
Okay,
eventually.
I can hold on to that.
Or at least a segue. So one example is Emily Huddleston, who was 14 when she was interviewed for this. So she'd be about 17 or 18 now. And she was caught in the tornado. She has a long scar on her left leg from the night in May. Her family was driving home from her brother's high school graduation. The tornado caught up with them as they neared their house. This is like straight out of a movie. The Chevy Suburban was tossed in the air. It crashed to the ground 2 blocks away.
Jeez.
No one was seriously hurt except for Emily when a chunk of debris was lodged in her thigh.
Oh.
She took weeks to recuperate, moving from wheelchair to walker to finally walking on her own. About 2 months after the tornado, Emily stood in her backyard. It was summer. Her house was gone. The trees were gone. And now she could see the ruined halt of St. John Regional Medical Center a few blocks away.
Jeez.
And it's at that point that a butterfly landed on her arm. It was a black and orange monarch. Other butterflies landed on her too, and it kept happening during the summer. There will be some that I can't get to leave me alone, she says. She didn't think anything of it, but then she heard the stories of butterfly people, and it all made sense. She says, I look at them as angels.
Okay,
so
that is very sweet. But have you ever been outside and been sweaty? Like a butterfly will land on you. They're not scared of you at all.
I know.
In fact, in a detrimental to their own health sort of way, like they have no fear about humans whatsoever.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Bugs are kind of like that in general. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. I don't know. And again, like I can't decide how she was feeling when this happened, but that doesn't strike me as any kind, because we went from butterfly people to now just little butterflies. Like
that strikes me as the type of thing that happens after like a funeral.
Yeah.
Like how people have these little things that happen to them where they're convinced like the street light goes out, or their phone rings and no one's there, and it's like, oh, this is contact, right? Like,
well, and if you have something you're trying to attach meaning to, or trying to search out something to connect to things, you know what I mean?
right.
And I think that might be part of I'm not, again, I've heard stories about things that happen around funerals and stuff that are very convincing, and I think that something did happen there.
Oh yeah, I'm completely the same. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've witnessed.
But unless a butterfly person like landed and like put its arm around you or was like waving from the distance or something, like I don't know this is a connecting thing. Again, I don't know how she feel. Like there could have been some emotional experience that went along with it, but again, that's her trying to attach something to it. Man, I really am ripped. Like the one like wholesome story you bring, I am just
The
ripping it
only
apart.
wholesome story we've ever done in the show's history.
Don't ever do this again. No, I don't know why I'm being so.
If this was about demons and then she said a swarm of flies attacked me, as you'd be like, "Yep, that's the devil."
You're right. You know what? All right, I am admitting fully, like for whatever reason, I do seem to be a little bit more apprehensive of this story than I normally would be.
That's okay. No, that's okay. That's that.
Again,
hey,
I'm giving.
If we believed everything on this show,
Yeah, and I'm giving Emily some credit. Again, I said like I don't know what her emotional feeling was. Like I don't know what indicators she would have that would be connecting this. If it's just some butterflies landing on you and you're like, that's weird. That's kind of like reminds me of the butterfly. I don't know that that's.
I'm gonna call Emily. She's gonna be the one we interview.
She probably won't talk to us after the razzing I just gave her for the last several minutes.
She was 11 years old.
I'm sorry, Emily, and you were 11. Like, yeah, all right.
But even that, see, like she didn't say, "Oh," but like I believe what she's saying.
Yeah, it just
you know what I mean.
It connected for her,
right? So it's not like you said. I might doubt it a little more if she was like the butterfly person came down and so.
No, I would believe that more.
Oh,
for real, I would believe that more. Other than the butterflies or some connection, because it. I mean, it's I don't know. I can't speak to other parts
of it. They have
like
a big butterfly mural in this town now, and they wanted to put butterfly people on it.
Well, again, I would have been much more on board for the they didn't push hard enough to if they settled at butterfly instead of butterfly people.
Yeah, well, well, let's wrap up this story. Well, so
I'm sorry, Emily, I really am.
Out by the airport in a white FEMA trailer, in a field with neat rows of them, the Morgan family is finishing dinner. Clay and Melissa Morgan and their 4 children, along with Clay's mother, have lived in the trailer since August. The tornado destroyed their house, and the Morgans and the children were home when it hit. Melissa Morgan huddled in a central hallway with Zoe, who's 12, Emma, who's 8, Eli, who's 5, and Luke, who's 4. Clay Morgan held a mattress above them. They heard windows breaking, and then the house blew open. They were thrown outside, riding the mattress like a water slide, Emma said.
Again, this sounds like something from like a long time ago. This just I can't. I just picture an old timey like farmstead. Anyway, they rode a mattress like okay.
They didn't. Everyone was accounted for, except for 5-year-old Eli.
Should have hung on tighter. I'm sorry.
They didn't. Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
They didn't find. Wow.
I'm still getting over the fact that the people were riding a mattress. I'm sorry. There's just a lot of very colorful details in this story that I'm just not able to let go.
Crazy stuff happens when your house blows up and you're riding at 200 miles per hour. This to me is like terrifying, dude.
It is very terrifying. Maybe that's why I'm like reacting. I'm like,
I think that's what it is because
trying not to put myself in the situation. Yeah, you're right. I live in the Midwest. Like this is a real scenario.
I'm terrified of tornado. When I was a kid, I was terrified whenever there was a tornado warning.
Well, I'm not terrified of that.
As an adult, I just go to bed now.
Okay. Well, that's about the dumbest move you can make. Like I stay up. I'm gonna probably go out. I do have some Midwest. I mean, I'm gonna go outside and probably stare at it.
Yeah.
See if I can see it. Yeah.
Get a good look.
Yeah. I've only seen a couple ever though.
I've never seen one.
They are very scary, even from a distance. Like it's a menacing looking thing to see off in the distance. Like videos,
it's like seeing Godzilla or something.
Yeah, videos don't do it justice. Like it doesn't matter what shot was taken. Like nothing you can watch on TV really encompasses like just how awesome and scary they are.
Oh, I'm sure. Just to see, it's like when people see the pyramid. Oh my gosh, I'm talking about Egypt. It's like when people go see the pyramids. They almost all, or like when people see blue whales, every person I know who's had either one of those experiences, they always go, "It's so much bigger than you think it is." Like,
I can imagine with a blue whale for sure. Like,
Yeah, I mean, people, and so I can imagine with a tornado, it's the same thing because you can see it on TV, but until you're like looking up at like a skyscraper monster that's coming after you, like I'm sure it doesn't really click.
Yeah.
So back to this, the Morgan's house blew up. Everyone's account, they rode the
Did
mattress.
they find the kid? I mean, all
They
jokes
found
aside,
Eli.
good. I'm glad
He,
he's okay.
and there's a quote from him.
Oh,
Eli,
good.
little 5-year-old Eli, says they didn't find me because I was under a carpet for a minute. As he drew on paper at his kitchen table during this interview, he used a red crayon to show what happened. A stick figure lying under the carpet as a tornado shaped like a pizza slice hovered above. I don't know why you have to diss on this kid's drawing.
Hey, I didn't do that. That's you and the author doing all of that.
His mom says, "You were wrapped up like a burrito." And Eli said, "I didn't have any boo-boos." He was found about 20 feet away, rolled inside a green carpet, his parents said. They don't know where the rug came from, although Melissa Morgan suspects it belonged to a neighbor.
So he was like on the bed and fell off, and then a rug like flew over on top of him, is what I'm gathering from this.
So they're in a hallway. They
Yeah.
have the mattress over them.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. I was very confused why they were on top of the bed. I thought
They're
this was
all
like an Aladdin situation, to be honest with you.
No, they're like in the most secure part of their house, and they're holding the mattress to like keep from debris.
Okay, this
So
makes a lot more sense.
right, so the windows shatter, and then they're holding on to this mattress, which is why they like rode it out basically. And they all end up accounted for, but then for some reason, the 5-year-old Eli is wrapped up in a rug that they don't own.
And he's wrapped up in it. I'm just trying to think of how that. Okay, just him being underneath it is baffling, but it rolled up around him. So he's with his family. They all take off. He's still there, presumably, because they find him in the house or what's left of the house.
I mean, I'm sure they were
Or how
scattered.
far did you say? 20 feet away or something?
Let's see here. It doesn't actually say, but it
Yeah,
had
he was found 20 feet away,
oh,
rolled
20 feet
inside.
away. Yeah, 20 feet away. So they think the rug belongs. It's not their rug though.
Okay,
So not
yeah.
only is he just in a rug, it's just like some rug nobody's seen.
Look, that's the least concerning detail about this story. I'm just physically trying to figure out the rug comes in. I don't care where the rug came from, but then it rolls around this kid, and he somehow doesn't blow away during all of this.
No, he ends up like with the rest of them, which is a miracle in and of itself.
All right, these might be angels.
Yeah. So he's wrapped up in a green
I don't
carpet.
know why this story is the one that's convincing me, but it really is.
It is one of the more convincing ones. They don't know where the rug came from, but Melissa Morgan suspects it belonged to a neighbor. So like if this isn't like a guardian angel thing, that means that like this tornado destroyed this one dude's house and then like picked up a rug and then destroyed their house, and then the rug just like found this kid and like
It's not. I can't even think of a way for it to happen. Okay, I'm like imagining like the rug flying in, him standing up, and it wraps around him because of the swirling of the wind. But how is he able to stay anchored as a 5-year-old boy that weighs all of 40 or 50 pounds, probably at most?
who knows? I don't know. And who knows how far away the tornado could have been across the street. You know what I mean? Like they might not have been like in the middle of it.
That's even less. I mean, even still, like
It does
I
crazy things. I know. I don't know. I don't know how you account for that.
like this is more confusing for me than what we were talking about with the like piece of hay through the tree or whatever. Like that
Yeah.
makes more sense to me on like an atomic level than a kid getting wrapped like a burrito in a neighbor's rug and nothing bad happening to him, and also not traveling very far at all when
Right.
everybody else you said the family went like 200 feet or something like that.
You know, he was 20 feet. Well, he stayed. Yeah, it's very odd that he ended up next to them. I mean, 20 feet ain't nothing. I mean, that's the length of a big room. You know, like that.
Yeah.
He basically was with them. He just so he. It's just insane. Um, Now Eli didn't see a butterfly person.
Really?
He says a day after the tornado, he told his parents he saw a man with brown hair while he was inside the carpet.
Mm.
which people seize on as evidence of something divine. I guess maybe that's supposed to be Jesus.
That was where my first thought went, and then I'm like, well, it could be any number of angels though as well.
Right.
Really.
His mom actually thinks it might be the body of their next door neighbor,
Ooh,
which is
well,
terrifying. But I mean,
as long as he thinks of it, and as long as the kid remembers it in a happy way, I guess. Okay.
I just think that's the one of the better examples of like a guardian angel type thing happening.
Yeah.
Like, because that's bonkers. Like that kid's gonna have that story for the rest of his life, and he it wasn't his time, I guess, because the family at least had the mattress or whatever, but he was out in the open, and what are the odds? Um, well, anyway, that's the butterfly people.
Okay. I was not aware of that at all.
Now I wasn't either. I had to do it. Um, Now, this made me think of another thing, though. So we're kind of going to shift gears. But when I hear butterfly person, I think my mind was immediately like Mothman. These kids saw Mothman.
My
um,
first thought was Arthur from The Tick, but I feel like that's a reference that not enough people are going to get.
those who are worthy of our genius will understand. Um, I immediately thought of Mothman because Mothman is described as having wings like a butterfly.
Yeah.
Um,
And he like shows up before bad things happen. Is that the
and
thing?
he shows up before disasters.
That's what I thought. That was the thing I remembered about him.
And I think there's some thinking that these Mothman entities they feed off of like human despair and like destruction.
Mm-hmm.
They're like an omen, but maybe they show up around these places to like feed. Basically, they're
Mm,
some kind of psychic entity. Um,
yeah.
so so I kind of wonder if maybe these kids didn't see like I mean I know that there's some of these guardian angel type stories like little Eli, but he didn't see a butterfly person.
He didn't see anything other than maybe his neighbor's body flying by.
Yeah, or like a guardian angel. But I mean
Possibly that too.
he didn't see like a winged,
Well, he
being.
was wrapped in a rug also.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So I thought we'd get into Mothman a little bit because he never given him his justice.
No.
So I thought we'd go through, and I think there's something to it. I know the butterfly people. I can't believe I'm now making the butterfly people a possible bad thing, but like that's just where my mind went. I'm like, it's a disaster.
I'm liking the idea more now that we're talking about them as some sort of energy vampires.
Yeah, I think that's what they are, man. Like they're energy vampires. Yeah. And they show up, and you would think that like they say that like certain high energy, highly emotional stuff resonates throughout time. You know what I mean? So it's probably like they show up beforehand, and just like suck up all that stuff from the disaster, like people's fear and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell you about the Mothman. I know in our John Keel episode we ended with it, but I didn't get into the entity other than briefly describing what it was. It just so the first Mothman sighting occurred in November 12th, 1966, in Clendenin, West Virginia, where 5 grave diggers claimed to see a human-like figure soaring above them in the autumn trees. Days later, on November 15th, in nearby Point Pleasant, West Virginia, a small city located at the meeting place of the Ohio and Kanawha rivers, 2 couples also spotted a white-winged, human-sized creature with fiery eyes standing in front of their car headlights.
Whoa.
And if you remember from the Keel episode, this was happening all over that area at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so the physical characteristics of the Mothman, he's 6 to 10 feet tall with a 10 plus foot wingspan. He's been compared to either like a freakishly large owl or bat. And some people have compared it to a pterosaur or pterodactyl. He has red, green, or yellow eyes. Even orange eyes have been reported. He has fur, leather-like skin, bat wings, and no neck.
Ugh.
So Steve Mallette of Point Pleasant.
He's like Man-Bat, essentially, from Batman.
Yeah, he kind of is. Yeah. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if that was based.
Where that came from.
Yeah, or maybe it's just the pun of Batman, Man Bat, or whatever. But
Well, they did a lot of different kind of similar characters like that as like Bizarro or whatever. But that would make sense though.
yeah, just as a thing in like popular culture.
Especially based on the time of when I don't know when that character was created in the Batman universe, but these two things would have definitely been overlapping each other.
Yeah, released in the 70s when Keel released Operation Trojan Horse.
Yeah.
Um, so again, in 1966, Steve Millette was one of the witnesses. He described it as like a man with wings. It wasn't anything that you'd see in TV or in a monster movie, he told the Point Pleasant Register. Another witness, Roger Scarberry, described the creature as having red eyes about 2 inches in diameter. That's scary to me. Big eyes scare me.
Yeah.
And 6 inches apart. Scarberry said that he had seen the creature by himself. He wouldn't have said anything, but there were, that if he had seen it by himself, he wouldn't have said anything, but quote, there were 4 of us who saw it. And so these sightings continued for months throughout Point Pleasant and the surrounding area. And the mystery and fear surrounding the strange bird-like monster came to a head on December 15th, 1967, with the tragic collapse of the Silver Bridge. 46 people died when the bridge, which is connected with Gallipolis, Ohio, collapsed during rush hour. And the destruction was blamed on a dysfunctional eye bar in the suspension chain, but some locals felt there was something more sinister at play, and it might be connected with the reports of the eerie creature. And strangely enough, after the disaster, no more Mothman.
Really?
Yeah, so well, in years later, but like that burst of sightings that had been going on for a few months just ended. So I did some more research into Mothman, and apparently they show up other places where disasters about ready to happen. So on April 26, 1986, in the Soviet Union, the world's worst nuclear disaster occurred when an explosion took place during a routine systems test of Reactor 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear plant. The nearby town of Pripyat served as a base for the first responders, but was later evacuated due to the presence of harmful radiation. In the decades following the disaster, rumors have flown on cryptozoologically inclined corners that the Chernobyl workers and residents of Pripyat saw something very eerie in the days prior to the explosion. Reportedly, a bizarre winged creature was flying over the town on numerous occasions, and a few workers at Chernobyl who allegedly saw the same creature hovering over the plant. Even stranger, those who claimed to have seen the creature were reportedly plagued by nightmares and harassed by incessant, threatening phone calls thereafter. And many claim the creatures resembled a man-like bird with red eyes and referred to it as the Black Bird of Chernobyl. And the threatening phone calls thing, that's a thing that happened to Keel as well. He would receive bizarre phone calls and stuff like that. And so did some of the town residents.
Just like telling them not to talk about it?
This isn't specific about what was happening in Chernobyl, but yeah, I think there was Men in Black type stuff telling people not to talk. It's kind of like when you see a UFO, but apparently whatever this thing is. Oddly enough, and I had never heard this, following the terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center on 9/11, rumors emerged that witnesses reported seeing a large crane-like figure in the vicinity of the tower 5 days prior to the attack. This had been 31 years since the sighting of Mothman in North America, and on the day of the horrific attack, Mothman was reported to have appeared again, some claiming they could see his face through clouds or smoke and debris. And yeah, I checked this out. Yeah, some people do claim this. This is I don't know, stuff like this. I'm like, if you were part or witness a disaster, like why would you lie about something this weird? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you saw 9/11, would you be like, and I also saw Mothman? I guess there's some weird people out there, but
there are definitely some weird people out there.
This one's weird. The I-35 West Bridge collapse. Freakishly enough, another sighting of Mothman was noted at the site of another bridge collapse at rush hour, again, on August 1st, 2007. at a bridge on Interstate 35 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which gave way at its center. 13 people died and nearly 145 were injured in its fall. And reports began trickling in that a Mothman like figure started appearing near the bridge about a month prior to its collapse.
Oh man, didn't we just have a Mothman sighting not that long ago? Are we going to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll let you get to it.
In fact, I did. Do you remember that morning I texted you? It was like, something's bad's going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's been so many bad things that have happened. It's hard to tell if that one was related to it. So I hope we get to clear that up.
No, and I guess you know what? Now that I think about it, Mothman never like saved any children that I know of. So maybe these are two different entities. But I don't know. I feel like these moth people be out here sucking up fear and dread.
Either that or there's one bad one and there's a whole bunch of good ones or something. I don't know.
Yeah, this is like either that or I guess a fallen angel.
It's the one bad boy of the Mothman. He's
They're
doing his own thing.
butterflies. I'm a moth.
Yeah.
So there was a recent well, first of all, and I should preface this because I did a lot of reading about this because I basically it's in Chicago. Um, there's apparently the last few years there's been a lot of sightings of Mothman at the Chicago O'Hare Airport.
Oh no.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Oh no. They've graduated from bridges to airports.
I know. And I found stuff all the way going back to 2016. NPR has reported on this.
Really?
Vice News has reported on this. A lot of airport workers witnessed this, so it's not like they're mistaking a plane or something. You know what I mean? Like these are people who work there. And yeah, just last week there was another one.
Last week?
Yeah,
as like the end of November?
like a week or two ago. Yeah,
Okay.
like this month. The Singular 14 Society, a paranormal news publication, reported that a 15-year United States Postal Service veteran encountered a tall, red-eyed, winged creature after work at Chicago O'Hare's International Airport late last month. The worker contacted the UFO clearinghouse to tell her story. In a nutshell, the witness says that she was walking to her car late in the evening after a long shift and saw a large man in an oversized coat staring back at her from the shadows. Only it wasn't a man at all, and that was no coat. She says, quote, I had just left work at the USPS sorting facility at O'Hare Airport at about 11 p.m. on Thursday, the 24th. Oh, this is in September. My bad. Is 3 months ago. And was walking out to my car when I saw something standing at the far end of the parking lot where I usually park. At first, I thought it was a very tall person with a long coat. But as I got closer to my car, I unlocked my car, which caused my headlights to come on. My headlights hit the person standing about 20 or 25 feet away, causing it to turn and look right at me. I saw that this was not a person, but some red-eyed creature, and what appeared to be a coat were actually wings, which it spread out as it turned to look at me. At first, I thought it was some kind of very, very large bird, but I've never seen any bird that stood almost 7 feet tall.
Whoa.
I'm 5'4", and this thing looked taller than me by at least 2 feet. This thing then started making some sort of chirping sound, almost like a half clicking, like someone was clicking their tongue, but much faster. I would be getting the heck out of there.
Yeah. This sounds like some velociraptor stuff.
It then made, this is how you also probably know it's not a bird. It then made some sort of screeching sound and took off running toward me. It got within 10 feet of me, and then took off in the air and flew above me.
Horrifying.
I know, it's like it's trying to scare her. It's like, this is what it does. It like scares people. I was screaming hysterically as I crouched down behind the car's open door, and I dived into my car head first. I was in a near panic as I tried to start the car, close and lock the doors, and turn on my interior lights. I started my car and took off out of the parking lot and flew down the road till I hit the main road. I got home and told my husband, who also works at the same facility, and he was the one who told me about the sightings of this thing. I was scared S-less and hope I never see this thing again. This thing is roaming around the area, scaring people half to death. I hope the airport people decide to do something about this thing someday. Lady, I don't know what to tell you. Uh, so the USPS worker at Chicago O'Hare was asked by the interviewer if the thing she saw looked anything like what is widely reported by the media and where it went once it took flight. She said, "I didn't care where it flew off to, and I was not about to stick around and find out." So I'm scared for Chicago O'Hare Airport.
Yeah, I was gonna say, has anything happened there yet? If not, I would like to volunteer to lead some sort of a team to go up and watch for the Mothman.
Oh my gosh! Well, like I said, this has been going. It seems like they've had sightings there for the last 4 or 5 years. It seems like it upticked in 2016, and it's been pretty steady. Apparently, as she mentioned, her husband, who also works there, like people who work at this airport see this thing.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's
What's more concerning is if it's been there for that long and nothing major has happened yet. Like, is something building up there? Like, what is going on?
right. Yeah, that's what I wonder about too. Now it was up there. It was in Point Pleasant for almost a year, so
We still got time.
yeah. Also, um, I kind of had the idea that like there's a lot of murder in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe they just hang around Chicago. You know what I
Maybe.
mean? Like, and maybe at the airport, I don't know. Maybe that's just like the type of facility where people would be. But I don't know. It hangs around that airport. I don't. I hope nothing happens, but I mean, obviously, we all hope nothing happens. But like, that is like very scary. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's concerning. It's definitely concerning.
So that's the butterfly people and the Mothmen.
Oh, all winged creatures helping and possibly hurting.
I know. Maybe they yeah, we'll have to do I'm gonna do a big proper long Mothman episode sometime, like
That'd be
getting into
cool.
all the different crazy phenomena that happen to Point Pleasant stuff. It goes into some detail in the Operation Trojan Horse, but there's a whole it's the Mothman prophecies, which is also written by John Keel, goes into like actually all the specific Mothman stuff. So um yeah. And once again, Patrick, you believe the Mothman more than you believe the butterfly people because we are haters.
Look, I feel like we got to the core of why I reacted the way I did. I'm scared of tornadoes.
Yeah, it was psychological reaction.
It might have been. Both very interesting. I don't know. There just seems to be more verifiable evidence, at least at this point, to Mothman as opposed to the butterfly people. Although I would like to try and seek out somebody that actually saw butterfly people and talk to them, because I feel like I could probably be convinced by somebody that's got a firsthand experience.
Oh yeah, and
Maybe.
I think we should reach out and see if we can find
Or
somebody.
at least I'm willing to give more credit there with somebody like actually coming out and stating that they saw it and
I'm gonna put
owning
out some
that.
feelers. I'm gonna put out some feelers.
That'd be cool.
See if we can find some people. But yeah, so I guess if we do that, we can refer them back to this episode to get kind of the backstory. Yeah, I kind of want to get a big jar and put a Mothman in it and a butterfly person in it and see who would win in a fight to the death.
Well, it sounds like Mothman's a lot bigger than the butterfly people.
They sound the same. Like yeah, well, the butterfly people. No, the butterfly people were like 10 feet tall or something. I
Oh, were
believe.
they? Okay. I didn't know that we ever got a size. I was just imagining them as
I don't know. Maybe I
smaller.
read that. Maybe I read that while I was researching. But yeah, obviously we read more than we present on the show. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think I read. I think I did read it. Like that's what made me go ooh, because they're kind of it's kind of the same size.
Hmm.
But there we have it, man.
Interesting. Well, thank you for putting that together, Dennis.
Well, you're welcome, Patrick.
Well, I enjoyed learning about all these winged people.
I know winged people. There's a picture I'll send you. Maybe we can put it on the show. But somebody claims to have actually snapped a picture of Mothman.
Really?
Yeah, it's from a distance, but I can't tell what I think of it.
Okay.
It doesn't look fake to me, but I'll send it to you. You can make your own decision. But
Okay.
just Google it, people. There's a lot of Mothman pictures, but there's one that's somewhat convincing.
Very
So,
cool.
all right, man. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. Please like, share, subscribe. Send us comments, send us ideas for shows. If you have a paranormal experience of your own, we are open to interviews for our Cryptic Experiences spin-off episodes. Check out those on YouTube. And yeah, man, please share this with someone that you know if you found it interesting, or share your favorite episode. We really appreciate all the support. We've seen a growth in support lately on like YouTube and
Yes, it's great. We love
podcasts
it.
and stuff. It's like we love it. So let's keep it going. Well, I love you, Pat.
I love you too, buddy.
Have a good evening. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.